Okay, here we are sketching the derivative again. And I'll do it right on the same graph here. So the derivative is 0 there and 0 there. Does that make sense? Because the slope of the tangent line is 0 at those points. So what's happening to the derivative to the left of this? It's a big negative number, big, and it's getting smaller to that. So it's a big negative number. I'm going to erase those guys. And it's coming up to that guy. And then what happens after this point? It's positive, big, big. The biggest it is right here at this point. So it's going to keep coming up to that point. And then it's still positive, but it's getting smaller to 0. So it's coming down to 0. Does that make sense? And then it's small negative, bigger, bigger negative to the biggest point right about down there is the biggest negative it is. And it's still negative, but it starts coming back up like that. Let me erase all this other stuff on here. Okay, so basically what you're looking at is you're saying, hey, at any point on the graph, what's the slope? And that slope is a big negative number, so it should be a big negative number, and so forth. Okay? 6. Let's see, the derivative, the slope is 0 at that point and at that point. And again, it's negative up to 0, so it's going to be a big negative, come up to that point, and then it turns positive, 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 0. So it's going to be positive and come back to this 0. And this point right here, is about the maximum slope, the steepest the slope is. So it looks like it's going to come up here and come back down like that. I'll erase that guy and see. Okay, does that make sense? And we talked about in class, this is a third degree, a cubic polynomial. So my derivative is a second degree. Okay, this one right here has 1, 2, 3 turns, so it's a fourth degree. So my derivative is going to be a third degree. It's going to be one less. And we'll talk more this week about why exactly is that. Okay, so here, there's the, let's draw where's my axis here? So, be this guy right here. So here's the axis here, and here. So at that point, it's 0, and somewhere right in here, it looks like it's 0. Okay, so this one we got to think about a little more. It's really big positive slope, positive all the way up to here, positive slope, and then it drops into here. So positive and then drops into 0, and then the slope turns negative, and it's steepest right here. So that's going to be the smallest, the lowest my derivative goes, and then it's still negative and comes up to 0. Now it's a negative slope on the left and a negative on the right. So it looks like it comes up and just touches it, and then these are big negative, bigger and bigger negative numbers. So it looks like it might do something like that. So let me erase all the other stuff. There we go. Does that make sense? Thinking, because it's negative to the left, negative to the right, stays curved right below it. Okay. 14. Sketch the graph of f. Uses sketch f prime. So f of x equals x squared. Looks like that. So what does the derivative look like? This is kind of like when we just did. It's going to hit 0 here is the slope of the tangent line. To the left, it's big negative, big, smaller negative. So it's going to go like this to 0, and then the slope comes shallow positive, steeper, steeper. It's going to get bigger and bigger like that. So there we go. So it's all, there we go, like that. Okay, let's do one more, 28. In the graph of f, at which of the labeled x values is f of x the greatest? Well, f of x is the highest y value, so that would be this point here, so that would be x sub 3. F of x is the least. Looks like, of my values here, x4 is the smallest, x sub 4. Where's f prime the greatest? That's the slope of the curve. It looks like it's right in here, right? X sub 5. prime the least. Now when we say least, that doesn't mean closest to 0. That means the biggest negative. And the biggest negative would be, oh, we don't have any, I guess we do. There we go. That one right there is negative. Every other one, that's 0. Every other one of these is positive, isn't it? So it's going to be x sub 3. Alright, so when you're talking derivatives, we're thinking slopes. We're talking function values. We're talking y values. Alright, there we go.